Right now, as you're watching this, something extraordinary is happening beneath your skin. Deep inside your body, there are approximately 30 to 40 billion microscopic structures that most people completely misunderstand. They've been vilified, blamed, and treated like the enemy. But what if I told you that everything you've been taught about these cells is wrong? These aren't lazy storage units passively collecting fat. They're intelligent biological systems communicating with your brain, producing hormones, and making split-second decisions that affect your energy, your mood, and your metabolic health. They're listening to every signal your body sends. And here's what almost nobody realizes. The moment you stand up and walk for just 30 minutes, you trigger a cascade of molecular events inside these cells that most doctors never explain. Within minutes, not days, not weeks, but actual minutes, your fat cells begin transforming in ways that would look like science fiction if you could see it happening in real time. Most people think walking is too simple, too gentle, too basic to create real change. They couldn't be more wrong. What I'm about to show you is the hidden biological symphony that plays out inside your body every single time you put one foot in front of the other. And once you understand this timeline, everything changes. Before we walk through the minute-by-minute timeline of what happens during your walk, we need to understand what fat cells truly are, because this foundation changes everything about how you view your body and its incredible intelligence. Your body contains somewhere between 30 and 40 billion fat cells, scientifically called adipocytes. Now here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. These aren't dumb, inert blobs sitting dormant under your skin. They're metabolically active endocrine organs. Read that again. Organs. That means they produce hormones, they communicate with other tissues, and they play an active role in regulating your entire metabolism. Think of each fat cell as a highly secured warehouse with sophisticated locks, delivery systems, and a direct communication line to your brain. Inside each cell, triglycerides are stored. These are triple-bonded molecules of fatty acids, chemically locked together in a formation that can't just randomly float out into your bloodstream. To release that stored energy, your body must break those molecular bonds through a precise process called lipolysis, literally meaning the breaking down of lipids. And here's the critical part. This process doesn't happen randomly or automatically. It requires very specific signals, the right enzymes, the perfect hormonal environment, and the appropriate metabolic conditions. Your fat cells are waiting for permission to release what they're holding on to. Now here's the perspective shift that changes everything. Your fat cells are not your enemy. In fact, they've been protecting you all along. When you consume more energy than your body immediately needs, your fat cells expand and carefully store that excess as triglycerides. This isn't sabotage, this is protection. By storing those fats inside cells, your body prevents them from circulating freely in your bloodstream, where they could damage your organs, clog your arteries, and create metabolic chaos. Your fat cells are doing exactly what they were designed to do, keep you safe. But when those cells become overfilled, when they're stretched beyond their healthy capacity, they start sending out distress signals in the form of inflammatory molecules. That's when insulin resistance begins to develop. That's when cardiovascular issues emerge. That's when metabolic dysfunction starts creeping into your health picture. Your fat cells aren't attacking you, they're overwhelmed and calling for help. Now imagine this scenario. You start walking 30 minutes a day consistently, day after day. What changes isn't just the number on your bathroom scale. What fundamentally transforms is the behavior of those 30 billion cells throughout your body. They become more responsive to signals. They become more efficient at energy transactions. They become more willing to release what they've been storing. They shift from a state of chronic defensive storage to a state of dynamic metabolic balance, storing when necessary, releasing when called upon. And the science validates this completely. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Health, Population, and Nutrition found that regular walking exercise significantly improved lipid profiles and reduced dangerous visceral fat in participants in just 12 weeks. Another study from Physiological Reviews demonstrated that even a single bout of moderate exercise stimulates adipose tissue blood flow and fat mobilization, delivering fatty acids directly to working muscles in real time. This transformation has been happening inside bodies for millennia, but once you understand the precise timeline, once you can visualize what's unfolding minute by minute, you begin to realize something profound. Your body isn't broken, it's incredibly, almost miraculously intelligent, and walking is the language it understands best. So let's walk through exactly what happens inside your fat cells when you lace up your shoes and step outside for a 30-minute walk. This isn't magic or marketing hype. This is pure biology unfolding in predictable, measurable stages. Stage 1, the first 5 minutes, the wake-up call. The moment you begin walking, your body doesn't immediately dive into your fat reserves. That's not how energy metabolism works. For the first several minutes, you're running primarily on glucose, the simple sugar that's readily available in your bloodstream and stored as glycogen in your muscles and liver. This is your quick-access energy. But something absolutely critical is already beginning beneath the surface.
Your nervous system springs into action, your heart rate climbs, blood flow accelerates throughout your entire cardiovascular system, and your adrenal glands begin producing adrenaline and noradrenaline, those famous stress hormones. But in this context, this is beneficial stress, the kind that signals your body to mobilize resources. These hormones act like chemical messengers, traveling through your bloodstream until they reach the surface of your fat cells. When adrenaline molecules bind to specific receptors on the fat cell membrane, it's exactly like turning a key in a lock. This binding activates a crucial enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase, often abbreviated as HSL. This enzyme is the gatekeeper of fat release. Its singular job is to begin breaking apart those tightly bound triglycerides inside the fat cell, splitting them into free fatty acids and glycerol, molecules small enough to slip through the cell membrane and escape into the bloodstream. But here's the important reality. This entire process takes time to ramp up to full efficiency. During those first 5 minutes, your fat cells are definitely receiving the signal, they're activating the enzymes, but they're not yet fully releasing their contents into circulation. Think of it like starting a cold engine on a winter morning. It needs several minutes to warm up before it runs smoothly and efficiently. At the same time, your muscles are gently pulling glucose from your blood to fuel their contractions. Insulin levels begin to drop slightly because your body senses that energy is actively being used, not stored. And that subtle drop in insulin levels, that's yet another signal to your fat cells. It's safe now. It's okay to let go. Stage 2, minutes 5 to 15, the release begins. By the time you've been walking for approximately 10 minutes, something remarkable is happening at the cellular level. Your fat cells have now fully activated the lipolysis process. Those stored triglycerides are being systematically broken down, and free fatty acids are slipping out through the cell membrane and entering your bloodstream in increasing numbers. This is where the warehouse analogy becomes even more powerful. Imagine your fat cells as millions of storage facilities with one-way doors that are normally locked tight. Walking doesn't just unlock those doors, it simultaneously increases blood flow to your adipose tissue. Think of this increased circulation like opening up delivery routes and highways. Those free fatty acids need transportation to reach their destination, and that transportation system is your bloodstream. Research clearly shows that during moderate exercise, blood flow to adipose tissue increases significantly, sometimes doubling or tripling, making it exponentially easier for fatty acids to leave the fat cells and travel efficiently to your muscles where they're needed. Your muscles, meanwhile, are beginning to shift their fuel preference. In the first few minutes, they were burning mostly glucose, but now, as free fatty acids arrive in increasing concentrations, your muscle cells begin actively taking them up and shuttling them into tiny cellular powerhouses called mitochondria. Mitochondria are where the real energy magic happens. They take those fatty acids and through a sophisticated biochemical process called beta oxidation, convert them into ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the actual energy currency that your entire body runs on. At this point in your walk, you're in a beautiful state of metabolic balance. Glucose oxidation is still happening, providing quick energy, but fat oxidation is steadily increasing, providing sustained energy. Your body is learning in real time that it doesn't need to defensively hoard everything. It's learning to trust that energy is available, that movement is consistent, that release is safe. And here's a critical insight that research has revealed. This phase, between 10 and 15 minutes, is exactly where most people give up. They walk for 10 minutes, feel fine, check the box, and stop. But by stopping here, they miss the most powerful metabolic shift that's about to unfold.
Stage 3, minutes 15 to 30. Peak fat burning and cellular transformation. Welcome to the sweet spot, the metabolic zone, where the real transformation accelerates. By the time you're 15 to 20 minutes into your walk, your body has fully transitioned into fat-burning mode. Studies consistently demonstrate that fat oxidation peaks during moderate-intensity exercise at approximately 45 to 65% of your VO2 max, which for most people translates to a brisk walk where you can still hold a conversation but feel slightly breathless. At this stage of your walk, somewhere between 50 and 60% of the total energy you're using is coming directly from fat. Your fat cells are releasing free fatty acids at a steady, sustainable rate. Your muscles are efficiently burning them for fuel, and something else is happening that's often completely overlooked in discussions about exercise and fat loss. Your fat cells are becoming more sensitive to future signals. Think of it this way. Every single time you walk, you're not just burning fat in that moment, you're actually training your fat cells to respond more efficiently next time. You're increasing the number and efficiency of the enzymes involved in lipolysis. You're improving blood vessel density and blood flow to adipose tissue. You're even influencing gene expression inside those cells, making them more metabolically flexible over weeks and months. Research published in Biomolecules in 2020 demonstrated that regular moderate-intensity exercise increases the expression of proteins directly involved in fat transport and oxidation. These include molecules like FAT/CD36 and fatty acid binding proteins. These are the actual cellular machinery that make fat burning efficient and sustainable. But here's where the science becomes even more fascinating. During this phase of your walk, your body is also producing a relatively recently discovered molecule called irisin, sometimes called the exercise hormone. Irisin is secreted by your muscles during physical activity, and it travels through your bloodstream to your fat tissue, where it does something truly remarkable. It encourages white fat cells, your storage fat, to begin behaving more like brown fat cells, the type of fat that actively burns energy to produce heat. This process is called browning, and it's one of the primary reasons why consistent walking doesn't just burn fat during the activity. It fundamentally changes how your fat tissue behaves all the time, even when you're resting. By the time you reach the 30-minute mark of your walk, your blood glycerol levels are elevated, your insulin is low, and your entire body is in a state of active energy flux. You're not just passively burning calories, you're actively reprogramming your metabolism at the genetic and enzymatic level. Stage 4, post-walk, the afterburn and long-term adaptation. Here's something that surprises most people. The metabolic benefits don't stop the moment you stop walking. For hours after you finish your walk, your body continues burning fat at an elevated rate. This phenomenon is sometimes called the afterburn effect, or more technically, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, abbreviated as EPOC. Your muscles are working to restock their glycogen stores. Your fat cells are still mobilizing fatty acids to provide the energy for that restocking process. Your mitochondria remain more active than baseline, and critically, lipolysis remains elevated for up to 24 hours after even a single bout of moderate exercise, as demonstrated in multiple peer-reviewed studies. But the real, lasting transformation happens when you do this consistently, when walking becomes a daily practice rather than an occasional event. When you walk 30 minutes a day after day, week after week, your fat cells undergo profound long-term adaptations. They become significantly less resistant to lipolysis. They store less aggressively and release more readily.
Inflammatory markers throughout your body decrease. Insulin sensitivity improves dramatically. Your body learns at every level that movement is the norm, not the exception. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more consistently you walk, the smaller your fat cells become. Not because the cells themselves disappear, you maintain roughly the same number of fat cells throughout your adult life, but because they release their contents. And smaller, healthier fat cells are metabolically active in all the right ways. They produce beneficial hormones like adiponectin, which actively protects against insulin resistance and systemic inflammation.
Let's ground all of this in actual scientific research, because this isn't speculation or theory. This is measurable, observable, reproducible biology. A landmark 2020 review published in Biomolecules examined how aerobic exercise regulates fat metabolism at the molecular level. What scientists discovered was that the fatty acid oxidation rate during exercise depends on 4 interconnected processes. First, triglyceride breakdown inside fat cells. Second, fatty acid transport from blood to muscle tissue. Third, availability and breakdown of intramuscular fats. And fourth, transport of fatty acids into mitochondria. Walking at a moderate pace optimizes all 4 of these processes simultaneously, creating a synergistic effect. Another study published in the American Journal of Physiology found that during moderate intensity exercise, like walking, fat oxidation can account for up to 60% of total energy expenditure, far higher than researchers previously believed possible. And interestingly, this effect is actually blunted at very high intensities. In other words, sprinting or intense running shifts your body back toward burning glucose, not fat. Walking keeps you in the optimal fat-burning zone. What used to surprise researchers was the timeline. They once believed that only duration mattered for fat loss, that you had to walk for hours to see meaningful benefits. But more recent data shows that consistency absolutely trumps duration. A 2023 study in the Journal of Health, Population and Nutrition found that just 12 weeks of regular walking, 30 to 40 minutes per session, significantly reduced visceral fat, improved HDL cholesterol, and lowered inflammatory markers, even without dramatic calorie restriction. Safety considerations. Walking is remarkably low risk, but there are still important considerations. If you have severe joint issues, uncontrolled heart disease, or are recovering from surgery, consult your doctor before starting any exercise program. For people with diabetes, walking can lower blood sugar significantly, sometimes more than expected, so monitoring is important, especially if you're on medication. But for the vast majority of people, walking 30 minutes a day is not only safe, it's one of the most evidence-backed interventions for metabolic health we have. The key is listening to your body, starting where you are and building gradually. Consistency is everything. Bringing it all together. So what truly happens to your fat cells when you walk 30 minutes a day? They wake up. They respond to signals they've been waiting for. They release what they've been protectively storing. They adapt, becoming more metabolically flexible, more efficient, more willing to work with you instead of against you. You're not at war with your body. Your fat cells have never been the enemy. They've been doing exactly what they were designed to do: protect you, store energy for future needs, communicate with your organs and systems. But when you introduce consistent movement, when you walk with intention and regularity, you give those billions of cells a completely new set of instructions. You tell them, through the language of movement, it's safe to let go now. We're moving regularly. We don't need to hoard anymore. You can trust the process. And over time, your body listens. Fat cells shrink, inflammation decreases measurably, insulin sensitivity improves, mitochondria multiply, blood flow increases, hormones balance. And the best part of this entire process? This isn't about perfection. It's not about running marathons or crushing yourself in the gym. It's about showing up, putting one foot in front of the other, and trusting that your body is doing exactly what millions of years of evolution designed it to do. This is a tool, not magic. It's biology, not a quick fix. And it works precisely because it respects your body's intelligence instead of fighting against it. So here's my question for you. What surprised you most? Was it the biology,
the precise timeline, or the reframing that your body has been protecting you rather than sabotaging you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Someone reading your experience might be exactly the person who needs it. And if you want more science-based explanations without the hype or gimmicks, subscribe. In the next video, we'll explore what most people get completely wrong about fasting and fat loss, and why ignoring this one thing can quietly undo everything you've worked for. Now, go take that walk. Your 30 billion fat cells are waiting to hear from you.